successful completion that the guy would take such a strong stance towards magic, emphasizing the conformity to expectations and reinforcing the guy's image as a stoic and determined individual. Rui noticed that they were getting stronger, and he felt that he should not lag behind them, encouraging himself to constantly grow and develop to match the level of his interlocutors, creating internal motivation and desire for personal success. Wolf suddenly felt a vague anxiety, which caused him to sharply tense. Despite the absence of obvious reasons, his attention was drawn to something invisible, creating a mysterious and exciting moment, filling the situation with mystery. He explained his wariness by saying that he thought there was a strange smell around him, adding an element of mystery and emphasizing his attention to detail that others might miss, creating an atmosphere of suspicion and interest. Of course, his friends could not understand what he was talking about, greeting his explanation with bewilderment and creating a comic situation around smells and premonitions, adding an element of humor and discrepancy of perceptions. In addition, Michael reported that he smelled only the smell of meat and nothing else, specifying that his sensations were limited to a specific aroma, which added mystery to their discussion, emphasizing the limitations of perception and causing interest in the nature of his senses. In addition, Michael reported that he smelled only the smell of meat and nothing else, specifying that his sensations were limited to a specific aroma, which added mystery to their discussion, emphasizing the limitations of perception and causing interest in the nature of his senses. Then the main character decided to try to discover magical power, opening a new path for himself and introducing himself into the world of secrets and magic in search of answers to his questions, creating an atmosphere of intrigue and desire to understand the unknown. The people who were around turned out to be really just ordinary people, adding mystery and bewilderment to the strange incident that caused such anxiety and interest, increasing the inner feeling of mystery and uncertainty. The people who were around turned out to be really just ordinary people, adding mystery and bewilderment to the strange incident that caused such anxiety and interest, increasing the inner feeling of mystery and uncertainty. He noticed 3 people, and if he looked closely, their magical power was shaking strangely, creating strange vibrations and raising further questions about their unique abilities. Perhaps, of course, it seemed to the main character, but just in case, it is better for him to follow them, leaving the question of what is happening open and not excluding the possibility of something more mysterious. And literally in a split second, they took off, adding mystery to the scene and giving the protagonist a sense of urgency to follow them. Well, Michael abruptly stopped the seller and said he wouldn't let them leave without paying for the meat, creating a tense situation and emphasizing the importance of honesty in this context. In the end, with an incredible effort, he ran to 3 strangers despite all the difficulties, and they finally found themselves together, creating a mysterious picture of the evening city. As long as they behave as usual, apparently they really are just ordinary people, and at this point there is nothing to suggest anything unusual in their behavior. Wolf noticed that the boys were hitting on the girls, and his attention was drawn to their smiles and joking conversations, creating a cheerful atmosphere in the crowd. And then, as if out of nowhere, the guys started dragging the girls into some alley, adding mystery and excitement to the city night scene. 3 strangers reported that the girls were brazenly resisting, all because they thought they looked human, creating funny misunderstandings in an unexpected situation. The guys were in anticipation because they had never had sex with a person before, and excitement was mixed with inexperience, creating a special tension in their expectations. Rui could no longer stand it and decided to help the defenseless girls by taking action to change the situation and prevent possible problems. He then very intensely asked the girls if they were safe, expressing concern and a desire to protect them from possible troubles. Of course, both were very scared, but they said that everything was fine with them, trying to calm down the worried Rui and emphasize their well-being in this situation. The protagonist told them not to run, warning them that it was dangerous here, and tried to convince them to stay in a safe place where potential problems could be avoided. One of the strangers approached the guy, arousing his attention, and began to ask questions or express his thoughts, creating interaction in a mysterious situation. Because he ruined their fun, one of the strangers promised to kill him, creating a tense moment at the climax of the story and threatening serious consequences. Michael asked if they were going to run away, expressing his concern and desire to help them in such an unpleasant situation. The strangers were determined, and not understanding with words, they decided to explain their position to him through bodily actions, creating a tense moment in the exchange of hostile emotions. But the main character and Wolf were also very serious and were ready to fight, preparing for a possible clash with determination and resolve. The guy had low magical power and weak defense, creating a threat and adding an element of danger to his participation in a possible clash. On the contrary, he would definitely not lose with an ordinary sword, giving the situation a certain epic feel and emphasizing his chances in the fight. And so it happened. In a split second, he simply broke the stranger's sword, demonstrating his strength and causing surprise among those around him. Wolf was very angry because he could not tolerate such behavior from the guys, and his indignation added tension to the already existing situation. He met one of the villains head-on, delivering a powerful blow that sent him crashing to the ground, emphasizing his willingness to protect and fight for justice in this unpredictable conflict. After which, Rui himself decided to get into the fray in order to help his friend, adding a new element to the chaos of the conflict and emphasizing their solidarity in this difficult situation. He decided to use supersonic lightning, adding an element of surprise and power to the fight to turn the tide in his team's favor. And this indeed helped. At least one of them received a serious blow, emphasizing the effectiveness of using supersonic lightning in the fight. With the reinforcement of their friends and superior numbers, they felt confident in their superiority to the strangers and prepared to end this ridiculous conflict in their favor. With the reinforcement of their friends and superior numbers, they felt confident in their superiority to the strangers and prepared to end this ridiculous conflict in their favor. By tearing the chain from his chest, he became a symbol of possible surprise, leaving everyone around him tensely waiting to see what would happen next in this mysterious and unpredictable scenario. And then demonic wings began to appear on him, giving this unusual situation an even more mystical and mysterious character, leaving everyone in amazement. He said it was too late to apologize and said he would kill the guy, hardening his tone and adding a new element of tension and danger to the situation. It is clear that the main character knew this, but he also noticed that the stranger skillfully hid his magical power, creating a certain mystery and an additional element of danger. It is clear that the main character knew this, but he also noticed that the stranger skillfully hid his magical power, creating a certain mystery and an additional element of danger. The protagonist noted that this was indeed the case, emphasizing his insight and ability to discern subtle details in a situation. The main character noticed that the chain removed by the stranger was capable of hiding his demonic essence, and if the guy had not smelled the smell, he would not have noticed either. Perhaps there are other demons among them, and the situation may be even worse than it seems. Magic items weaken the magical power of demons, adding a new element to the scenario's characteristics and influencing the power dynamics in the conflict between the heroes and the stranger. The stranger asked the guy not to think that he was still the same, emphasizing his changeable nature and possible deceptions in the world of magic and intrigue. And then he asked the main character to prepare for the blow, creating a tense moment in anticipation of the inevitable collision and emphasizing the seriousness of the situation. Of course, Rui was not going to just stand there and wait to be hit, showing determination and willingness to respond to the challenge, which added to the dynamics of the fight. On the contrary, he immediately delivered his blow, thereby preventing the attack and emphasizing his vigilance and skill in battle. The blow was really strong, and the opponent flew straight into the opposite wall, creating a spectacular finish to his attack and emphasizing Rui's power in combat battles. He just could not understand how the demons got into the city and whether there were other demons in the city, adding questions and mystery to the mysterious events in their surroundings. Avoiding full disclosure, the stranger remained silent, emphasizing his caution and intractability in disclosing details, which only increased the mystery and misunderstanding in the eyes of the protagonist. The main character said that he was ready to bloody his hands to protect those who are dear to him and asked if the stranger was ready for such a sacrifice, finding out his readiness for protection and alliance in this difficult battle. And then the guy gave up and began to say that there was no one else in the city yet. They were simply ordered to go out into the city, but thinking that if they were ordered to act according to plan, they would not be given time to have fun. The guy could not understand what plan the stranger was talking about, leaving in the air a feeling of mistrust and unsolved secrets in their future cooperation. But he couldn't say, because if he spoke out, his boss would simply kill him, creating an additional layer of danger and drama in their interaction. Contrary to expectations and ambiguities, the stranger somehow managed to escape, leaving behind a mysterious trail and forcing the protagonist to ponder the possible consequences that could arise from this unexpected turn of events. To be honest, the main character could not understand how this could happen, but he needed to act, gathering strength and preparing to solve the mystery and face the new challenges that lay ahead. He then instantly remembered that there were a lot of people on the main street, causing him to become uneasy and realized that the situation might be more complicated and dangerous than it seemed. And under any circumstances, the stranger must be stopped somehow, otherwise big problems will arise, forcing the protagonist to feel increasing tension and responsibility for the safety of the city. Just then, Michael came running in, complaining about being left without paying, adding a new element to the chaos and possible negative consequences for the protagonist's team. It just happened that Michael was so lucky that a stranger almost ran into him, creating a comic moment in the chaos and further confusing the situation. After which Michael heard him strike the stranger, bringing him up to date and emphasizing the need for coordinated action in this difficult moment. He, of course, didn't understand anything, but he got the gist that he needed to hit the guy, creating comic confusion and adding misunderstanding to the already existing situation. He, of course, didn't understand anything, but he got the gist that he needed to hit the guy, creating comic confusion and adding misunderstanding to the already existing situation. Next, of course, a punch called an explosive fist was thrown, creating an epic moment in the fight and surprising everyone with his unexpected skill. Of course, the blow was even stronger than that of the protagonist, adding a new level of power to the stranger's defeat and causing amazement among those around him. The stranger could not understand how this happened, because he thought that everything would go smoothly, leaving him bewildered and embarrassed by unexpected resistance. When Michael was asked if he had overdone it, the main character, on the contrary, said that he was great, supporting him and expressing recognition for an unexpected and successful technique in the fight. Well, Michael still continued to yell about being left without paying, adding a comic element to the situation and highlighting his displeasure at this chaotic moment. Rui revealed that the demons may be up to something, so they need to scout, adding an additional element of mystery and preparation for possible dangers in the future. If they have a plan, they must first find out who their boss is, emphasizing the need for strategy and intelligence to effectively counter the demonic conspiracy. But to do this, the main character will have to use his power a little, emphasizing the need to use his skills and magic to achieve his goals. Rui then raised his hand to the stranger's forehead, creating a mysterious moment that could have a connection to his magical abilities or some mysterious ritual. To be honest, Michael could not understand what the main character was up to, creating an additional layer of intrigue and uncertainty in their group, causing interest and misunderstanding from those around him. An advanced version of memory manipulation magic is magic that can put an unconscious person into a trance and control them, opening the possibility of forcing them to tell all the information, creating an intriguing element in the world of magic and introducing new possibilities into the plot. Michael reported that it was truly scary magic, emphasizing its power and raising alarm about the potential dangers associated with its use. The main character seems to be able to take control of the stranger, highlighting his mastery of magic and creating new possibilities in a situation with a demonic threat. As it turns out, the stranger's name is Erago, adding a new element to the plot, a character name that may have its own history and meaning in the world of magic and mystery. Still, it was true that no one except the three of them went outside, increasing the feeling of isolation and emphasizing their special position in this mysterious situation. The stranger reported that Jason made them sit in the hotel forever, and this really pissed him off, introducing new details into the motivations of the characters and the dynamics of the plot. If what Iris said yesterday was true, then he is still that villain, adding to him negative aspects and a threat to the heroes and those around him. The main character asked what they were going to do, expressing concern and uncertainty about the group's future actions and plans. He didn't know the details, only that they had some kind of ritual to perform, and they were going to use people from the capital as victims, creating a new level of tension and urgency in the task of preventing a sinister plan. He was told to commit genocide, revealing a darker and more catastrophic plot that gives the whole situation a deeper, darker dimension. And they had to start this chaos by introducing an element of timing and emphasizing the urgency of the task of preventing an ominous event. Today at 3 o'clock, they would have to attack the city with the ringing of a bell. They were supposed to attack in 2 groups, adding specific details and clarifying the villain's plan of action. I start with the hotel, and the freaks should not have destroyed the capital at once, creating a more complex scheme and attack plan that requires careful research and prevention. Of course, such information shocked everyone present, increasing tension and emphasizing the urgency of the need to prevent the upcoming threat. The protagonist decided that he would force them to sleep through sleep magic, taking decisive steps to neutralize the danger and create an opportunity for a deeper study of their plans. And then he began to run somewhere, leaving everyone in amazement and introducing a new element of surprise into the course of events, creating additional difficulties for the heroes. It was currently 2:00 p.m. and 50 minutes, emphasizing the limited time before events occur and increasing the sense of urgency in the protagonist's actions. They simply did not have time, because in 10 minutes, the demons would begin to attack the city. They needed to protect everyone from the demons, but at the same time, they needed to find out Jason's real goal, introducing poignant moments and internal contradictions into the plot. Friends reported that the guy was very strange, adding a mysterious element to the plot and possible difficulties in revealing his true intentions. And he said that he should not think about going there alone, because they are with him. They will do everything he asks, showing unity and readiness to support the main character in a difficult situation. To be honest, the huge hero was slightly shocked after such words, reflecting his surprise and, perhaps, an unexpected sense of responsibility for those who are ready to follow him. He decided that he would still rely on the boys, deciding to entrust his fate to the group, feeling that there was strength in unity, and preparing for joint efforts in the fight against the demonic threat. He, realizing that the demons would soon begin to attack, decided to rely on his friends, armed himself with a sword, and with faith in their joint strength, went forward to save his city from sinister forces. The main character decided that he would go towards the hotel where there would be many demons, demonstrating his determination and willingness to fight the threat directly. The main character decided that he would go towards the hotel where there would be many demons, demonstrating his determination and willingness to fight the threat directly. And Michael had to go to the royal palace and report everything to the knights, creating an additional plan of action and ensuring that the official defenders of the city were informed. If he says that he stands up for Yuri, he is listened to, emphasizing the importance and influence of Yuri in the city and the possibility of using this to his advantage in the current situation. Michael was only interested in one thing, namely, after he reported whether he could act as he wanted, expressing his desire to maintain some degree of freedom in solving the problem. Then they had to be careful, realizing that every step in their plan matters, and any mistake could be decisive in the fight against the demons and to save the city. The next time they meet is after everything is over, emphasizing the anticipation of the unknown and the tense atmosphere before the upcoming battle with the demons. Under the weight of responsibility for the future of the city, they formed an unbreakable alliance, ready to confront the darkness and bring victory to the light, taking up arms and turning their gaze towards the advancing enemy. At this time, Jason calmly drank wine for himself, emphasizing the carefree attitude of his attitude towards the impending danger and creating a contrast with the tense situation of the main characters. Seeing Jason calmly enjoying the wine, the man conveyed the information that they should begin soon, making the main characters feel the pressure of time and the inevitability of the approaching clash with demonic force. Jason noticed that he was somehow anxious, and, as he found out, there were no platinum-class adventurers in the capital right now, adding mystery to his behavior and raising questions among the main characters. By the time they got to the capital, they were already ahead. It would have been nice if it had been that simple, emphasizing the impending difficulties and surprises that can await the heroes in their attempt to save the city. Now that the time had come, They needed to get started, creating an atmosphere of tension and preparedness for unpredictable events in the near future. The man could not believe that he just had to wait, expressing anxiety and bewilderment in front of the unknown danger that was slowly but surely approaching. Since he is a warrior, he could not simply sit still while the war was going on nearby. Expressing his rejection of passive waiting and preparing to take an active part in the fight for his city, Jason noted that the man was truly an old man with an old mindset, highlighting the generation gap and differences in approaches to the situation that could affect their ability to effectively deal with the approaching threat. Jason noted that the man was truly an old man with an old mindset, highlighting the generation gap and differences in approaches to the situation that could affect their ability to effectively deal with the approaching threat. The man at first did not understand who Jason was talking about, expressing bewilderment and emphasizing possible difficulties in communication and understanding among the heroes. After he realized who the guy was talking about, his eyes lit up, expressing determination and possible personal involvement in resolving the conflict with the commander of the Royal Knights. Jason said that he would leave him several subjects. He could use them, offering the man the resources and opportunities to effectively complete the assigned task. Jason nodded affirmatively, emphasizing his confidence and trust in the boy's ability to successfully complete the task, creating additional incentive for him to show his best qualities in protecting the city. But he didn't care, because he no longer needed the man after he crossed the border, highlighting Jason's determination and his ability to get rid of cooperation after achieving his goal. If he manages to distract the commander of the knight and the king, it will even be to their advantage, expressing the possibility of creating favorable conditions for the implementation of their plans and actions in the interests of the city. Although it would be best if they beat each other, highlighting Jason's strategic move to try to create a win-win situation for his side within the royal structure. Although it would be best if they beat each other, highlighting Jason's strategic move to try to create a win-win situation for his side within the royal structure. He did not think that there were people who could stop them, expressing confidence in his plan and underestimating possible opposition from other individuals. Just at this moment, a giant horse runs amok in the capital, adding an element of chaos and surprise to the city's setting, which may affect the course of events and the actions of the main characters. At this moment, Max and his group were next to her, providing additional personalities and possible interactions between the characters in the developing situation. They were just trying to cope with this crazy horse, emphasizing the unpredictability and struggle with unexpected forces in the city, which can add an additional element of tension to the plot. The girls intervened in this chaos, actively helping the victims and rescuing them from dangerous situations, creating an additional element of solidarity and mutual assistance in the city. They almost completed the evacuation, demonstrating the girls' efficiency and organization in a crisis situation, and highlighting their ability to act quickly in difficult conditions. Max was fine, but ran out of flash grenades, highlighting the limited resources and potential difficulties the characters face in dealing with the chaos in the capital. He just could not understand what the knights were doing at this time, where the adventurers were, or even anyone would come from the alliance, expressing concern and bewilderment at the lack of action on the part of other groups and allies in such a critical situation. Max has already begun to lose hope that anyone will help them, emphasizing the feeling of helplessness and loneliness in the face of growing threat and lack of external support. And just when he was distracted, a giant horse charged at him, adding an unexpected turn of events and increasing the tension in the fight against chaos in the capital. And then he realized that he could no longer evade, and simply decided to take a stance, expressing determination and readiness to confront, despite the unexpected attack of a giant horse. Well, fortunately for Max, it is unclear who decided to help him, emphasizing the sudden support that appeared from an unexpected source at a critical moment. Wolf, arriving just in time, quickly joined Max, creating a unified front line in the fight against the giant horse and increasing the chances of a successful confrontation in this unexpected clash. Wolf, arriving just in time, quickly joined Max, creating a unified front line in the fight against the giant horse and increasing the chances of a successful confrontation in this unexpected clash. He reported that the leader told him to protect the people in this territory, and they just happened to be here when this horse suddenly went berserk, adding an explanation to his appearance and strengthening Wolf's role in protecting the city. He reported that the leader told him to protect the people in this territory, and they just happened to be here when this horse suddenly went berserk, adding an explanation to his appearance and strengthening Wolf's role in protecting the city. Wolf was effusive in his praise and expressed his admiration, saying that the boys were truly great, having overcome difficulties and shown outstanding perseverance in all trials. The guy instantly turned into a wolf, and claiming that he was now taking the initiative, said that from now on, he was leading the business and promoting it with his wolf lifestyle. The guy asked if Max was scared, because for the first time he showed his strength, demonstrating that he was capable of something much more impressive and powerful. Well, to tell the truth, according to Max, he was not only not afraid, but he was delighted, and said that it was simply incredible, and he was simply delighted with all this magical magic. To be honest, it never even occurred to him that the moment would come when such words would be spoken to him, and he was pleasantly surprised and even a little shocked by this unexpected confession. Having said that the demons were preparing to appear at the hotel near the royal palace, the guy said that the leader was already on his way, but he could use additional help in this difficult matter. Max only knew about the adventurers, noting that the platinum class, the highest currently, was not in the capital, but among the gold class adventurers there were probably still some left. Then the guy decided to take the issue with the horses into his own hands, while Max suggested turning to the adventurers for a conversation and joint action. Quite frankly, it is not at all clear for what exact reasons. But at that moment, Max seemed to suddenly lose his confidence and somehow awkwardly found himself in a state of confusion. Having overcome his inner fears, Max finally decided that he would definitely call for additional help and involve his reliable friend for support, relying on their joint efforts in this difficult matter. Wolf, who rose to the attack, moved into battle, filled with determination and passion, ready to face the unknown, because before him was a spectacle of trials requiring strength and courage. Max, with full confidence that the adventurers did not trust them, turned out to be right. The chances of success were extremely meager, as originally expected, and the whole situation seemed even more hopeless to him. Well, since he was already asked for help, he readily took up the matter, trying to make every effort and help as much as possible, because it was important for him to contribute and satisfy the request, and he worked to the fullest, without sparing himself. He couldn't bear the thought that his friend might die, and so he determinedly set out to do whatever he could to prevent that fate, preparing to fight and doing everything in his power to save his friend. Of course, the girls agreed with Max because he had an irresistible charm and the ability to win their hearts, and in his every request or proposal there was an easy confidence, which made his opinion very attractive to the fair sex. They certainly didn't have enormous power, but that didn't make them powerless. On the contrary, they were going to put in their best efforts and try to achieve their goals, overcoming their weaknesses and achieving success in their efforts. Max told Jim to stay put and help the guy, emphasizing the importance of this task and expressing confidence in Jim's ability to make a significant contribution to resolving the situation. And he persuaded another girl to go with him, assuring him that if he was beaten, she would be there, ready to provide the necessary help and support, creating an atmosphere of mutual trust and protection. He then decided to do whatever he could, relying on his strength and determination to achieve his goal or overcome obstacles that might come his way. And the girls, in due time, will show that they are not cowards, showing strength of character and determination in the situation, proving their ability to cope with challenges and not succumb to difficulties. Michael rushed forward as if he had escaped madness, shouting that if his encounter had been unfortunate, it would no longer be his problem, filling the moment with an atmosphere of anxiety and uncertainty. Michael rushed forward as if he had escaped madness, shouting that if his encounter had been unfortunate, it would no longer be his problem, filling the moment with an atmosphere of anxiety and uncertainty. But suddenly, someone restored his run, to put it mildly, introducing an unexpected element into his plans and forcing him to face unexpected events caused by mysterious incidents. At this time, Kazaka and Oscar appeared in front of him, creating a situation full of anticipation and excitement, since their presence was a harbinger of something important or unusual. The guy reported that they had been doing a bit of investigating here, suddenly introducing an element of mystery and intrigue into the situation, raising questions about the nature and purpose of their investigation. The guy reported that they had been doing a bit of investigating here, suddenly introducing an element of mystery and intrigue into the situation, raising questions about the nature and purpose of their investigation. After the demons arrived, they began to behave strangely, explaining that they had a strange feeling about the palace, which was why they came here, causing misunderstandings and incredible speculation. After the demons arrived, they began to behave strangely, explaining that they had a strange feeling about the palace, which was why they came here, causing misunderstandings and incredible speculation. As it turned out, classes ended earlier than usual today, and Oscar suggested they go for a walk, suddenly creating an unexpected turn of events and an opportunity to have a good time after the school day. Michael, to be honest, did not expect Oscar to seem like this, surprised by new character traits or behavior of his friend that appeared in an informal setting outside of class. He, however, turned out to be not as shy as Oscar thought, opening up in a more informal setting and showing himself from a new, unexpected side. To be honest, Oscar easily fell into that couple when Michael said that he was in love with the girl, causing surprise and joyful emotion in his behavior. The brain then decided to wonder what Michael had forgotten there, perhaps hinting at mysterious or important aspects of the past, or forgotten details that might be relevant to the current situation. Then, over the course of several minutes, Michael told them all the details and events, removing the questioning shadows and creating clarity around what could have happened and how it affected his current state. And accordingly, taking this into account, there is a high probability that the palace seems strange in the eyes of the demons. So it is necessary to quickly deal with these circumstances and find out what could cause their unusual perception. Michael politely asked for their help, emphasizing his dependence on their support and joining forces in solving the mysterious situation surrounding the strange perception of the palace. They then decided to go to the palace, oddly enough, perhaps to unravel the mystery and understand why it evokes such strange impressions and feelings in the demons. Not far from them, Michael noticed a guard, causing him to be a little alarmed and attentive to safety, because the presence of a guard could indicate something unusual in the vicinity of the palace. Michael shouted very loudly to the guard, trying to get his attention and ask him with a request or question, creating a situation that required attention and a response. But the guard showed no attention, and Michael decided that it seemed he would have to get closer to get his attention and get an answer to his questions. Michael said that if they didn't hurry, the capital would simply come to an end, adding drama and urgency to the situation to emphasize the need for a quick response and resolution of the problem. But he was quickly stopped and told that there seemed to be something there, drawing attention to a possible source of problem or danger that needed to be investigated and resolved. He then decided to use magical analysis, attempting to penetrate the mysteries and energies of the surroundings in order to identify unusual or anomalous phenomena that could be related to the strange state of the palace and the demons. Oscar noted that this was quite high-class barrier magic, indicating the presence of powerful artificial barriers, perhaps created for the purpose of protecting or hiding something important within the palace. And not everyone is capable of creating such a powerful barrier, which is why the guard did not pay attention to Michael's presence, since usually such magical protections remain invisible to ordinary observers. This barrier seems to have a cognitive alienation effect. The guard cannot see or hear them, creating the illusion of invisibility and inconspicuousness for those who try to get close. Therefore, even if the capital were turned into embers, inside the palace it would look the same as usual thanks to this cold magic, maintaining the appearance of an ordinary and unshakable reality inside the palace walls. Michael decided that he could simply break this wall and began to literally beat it, trying to overcome the magical barrier with physical force, expressing his determination and reluctance to accept the impassibility. Yes, he decided to use the supreme bomb, with the hope that it would somehow help, showing determination to use all available means and strength to overcome the magical barrier and the problem inside the palace. Well, oddly enough, nothing helped, and the guy simply sat back, realizing that the use of a higher bomb or physical force had no effect on the magical barrier, creating disappointment and uncertainty in further actions. But he is glad that he at least cracked it, leaving the hope that even small successes can lead to overcoming the magical barrier and achieving the goal. Oscar once again explained that this barrier was most likely created by the forces of about 10 demons, adding an additional element of mystery and complexity to the picture of the setting. If you don't use the latest fire magic on him, it is impossible to pass through, which means that Michael's blow was not strong enough, and a more powerful impact will be required to overcome the barrier. And he said that he tried to use the belt of magical power, but nothing worked, emphasizing that the magic he tried to use could not overcome the magical barrier. And he said that he tried to use the belt of magical power, but nothing worked, emphasizing that the magic he tried to use could not overcome the magical barrier. Michael could not understand when Oscar had learned to search for magical power, causing surprise and questions as to how even ordinary personal items acquired such amazing skills. Oscar still decided to look for Yuri, despite the complexity of the situation, showing determination and willingness to take the lead in solving the riddles and finding answers inside the mysterious palace. It is not clear for what reason, but he almost fainted, causing anxiety and bewilderment as to the reasons for his unexpected state at this moment. The guy then reported that he was in a folding area and felt Yuri's magical power in the gateway, adding new mysterious elements and indicating Yuri's possible location in this unusual magical environment. If you get there, you can defeat the one creating the barriers, and it will disappear, providing a new path to solve the mystery and overcome the magical obstacles inside the palace. Of course, Michael was for such an idea because this proposal opened up the opportunity not only to discover Yuri, but also to get rid of the source of the magical barriers standing in the way of solving the problem. Just at this time, the guards were punched in the face, which caused some satisfaction and a feeling that their plan was beginning to work, making it clear that magical influence on the barriers could produce results. As it turns out, these were demons who were beating up the guards, adding an element of chaos and danger to the environment, which could be due to their interest within the palace and their influence on the magical barriers. They laughed because the partner was worried about his friend, demonstrating his cruelty and indifference to the feelings of others, which created an additional layer of tension in the situation. One of the demons reported that if the surviving partner sat on his knees, he would let him live, offering the destruction of the relationship and reduction to a subservient level in exchange for sparing his life. Of course, the guard was not ready to let them into the city and considered this very cruel, expressing his displeasure and protest against the threats and violence from the demons. The stranger hoped to negotiate with him, but nothing came of it, creating a situation of conflict of interests and possible conflict in an attempt to find a compromise or solution. It is unclear why something suddenly stopped him, creating questions and confusion as to what could have influenced the sudden change in circumstances. As it turns out, it was the main character who saved the guard, adding a twist and highlighting his role in resolving the conflict between the guards and the demons. The guy immediately asked if the man was okay, expressing concern for his well-being after intervening in a conflict with demons. To be honest, this guard's look was very frightened because he did not understand what was happening, evoking sympathy and understanding of the complexity of the situation that he had to face. The main character said that he would figure it out himself, emphasizing his willingness to take responsibility and resolve the situation in the future. And then he advised them to identify people with injuries and direct them to the gates, providing specific actions to organize assistance and manage the situation within the city. The guards couldn't believe that such a small boy had saved them, causing surprise and perhaps a re-examination of stereotypes about who can be a hero or leader in difficult situations. One of them heard that he had defeated the swordsman who had attempted to assassinate the prince a month ago, spreading rumors about this student from the magic school, which gave him additional status and respect in the eyes of the guards. The guard said that if it became dangerous, the guy should run, showing concern for his safety and warning against possible dangers in the future. The stranger could not understand how he saved the warriors, causing him bewilderment and interest in what abilities and skills allowed him to cope with such a difficult situation. Magic is the profession of demons. They will definitely benefit by expressing skepticism and confidence in the power of demons in the field of magic and anticipating the outcome of future events. Of course, the main character knew about the power of strong demons, but he is very sorry that they use their magic for such sinister purposes. expressing sympathy for potentially powerful creatures, but used for harmful purposes. He simply could not let them into the city, expressing his determination to confront the demons and not allow them to enter the safe areas of the city. The man then decided to use a supreme firestorm, taking measures to protect the city and confront the demons, showing his willingness to use powerful magical abilities to protect the monastery. Of course, Rui was prepared for this, demonstrating confidence and readiness to take on the challenge of the ultimate firestorm and use his magical skills to combat the danger. He was ready to defend the capital with all his might, showing devotion and determination to protect his city from possible threats and ensure the safety of its inhabitants. He was ready to defend the capital with all his might, showing devotion and determination to protect his city from possible threats and ensure the safety of its inhabitants. They promised him that he would not return alive, hinting at serious threats and raising tension in anticipation of an imminent confrontation. The main characters moved very elastically and professionally, demonstrating their skills and coordination in the fight, which gave an impression of skill and experience on the part of observers. And he dealt with demons with ease, expressing his fearlessness and skill in combat, which strengthened his reputation as a strong and experienced warrior. Next, the main character decided to use attacking technique number 3, emphasizing his strategy in the fight and his readiness for a variety of tactical approaches in the fight. This technique was indeed very effective and mesmerizing, giving the impression of not only skill, but also virtuosity in the use of combat skills. The demons no longer believed that he was human, emphasizing the supernatural abilities and skill of the protagonist in the fight against them. The demons were wrong, as he was taught to fight by the Dragon King, revealing the secret source of his strength and skill in battle. They realized that they couldn't kill him up close and decided that they would attack with magic, adopting tactics and strategies according to their magical abilities to achieve their goals. They noticed that he even saw all their feints, expressing surprise at his incredible skills in perceiving and deflecting attacks. It happens that he sees magic, but cannot control it, adding an element of uncertainty and risk in his interaction with magical phenomena. The main character then decided to take matters into his own hands and finally start attacking, showing determination and desire to control the course of events in the fight against the demons. Rui used the highest dragon flames, instilling fear and wonder with his powerful magical abilities, creating the impression of incredible power during battle. It looked very impressive, and the demons simply had no choice when faced with the power and impressive strength of the dragon flames, which they were unable to survive. It was at this moment that they realized that they had already lost, realizing the inevitability of their defeat in front of a powerful and experienced opponent. Then, of course, they simply fell to the floor, demonstrating their powerlessness and defeat in front of the strength and skill of the protagonist. The main characters again pathetically asked if they would continue, emphasizing their readiness and confidence in their victory, causing submission from the defeated demons. His gaze, of course, was cool and confident, reflecting determination and control in the situation after a successful battle. The guy promised that if they told where Jason was, he would not do anything to them, expressing his willingness to cooperate and leaving room for dialogue instead of conflict. But they don't know what the boss will do to them if they tell, highlighting the dangers that may await them from the top brass and creating additional tension in the situation. Additionally, they don't know where the boss is or what he's doing, adding mystery and uncertainty around the actions of top management and highlighting the complexity of the demon situation. Just then, their conversation was interrupted by some demon who called out to the guy, creating a sudden turn of events and raising questions about what might happen next. As it turned out, he took one of the guards hostage and thereby threatened the guy, creating a tense situation and forcing the hero to make difficult decisions. He set his own conditions for the guy to throw the sword, demonstrating his power in this situation and trying to control the course of events. The guard even told the guy not to worry about him, expressing his determination to accept the possible consequences and demonstrating his dedication to protecting his master. The guard even told the guy not to worry about him, expressing his determination to accept the possible consequences and demonstrating his dedication to protecting his master. Now everything has become different, not agreeing with the fact that he is truly strong, emphasizing the change in circumstances and possible doubt in the strength of the protagonist on the part of the demons. But this time he was unlucky. Immediately after these words, he was hit, demonstrating that trust in the enemy can be dangerous and emphasizing the surprise in the course of events. They didn't think he would have that look in such a situation, expressing surprise and perhaps fear at the protagonist's unexpected reaction or determination. He didn't know how long he could continue with so many demons, expressing doubt about his ability to deal with so many opponents, and highlighting the difficulty of the situation. It will be difficult for him to endure attacks from such a large number. He cannot let everything end here. He needs to do something, expressing awareness of the need for action and the desire to change the course of events. Now this guy was left in a hopeless situation. He urgently needed to come up with something to prevent the demons from winning, emphasizing the urgency and tension of the moment.
Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe.